Today, we are finally going to be jumping into a pretty cool series of videos, podcasts that we're doing about Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door. So today we're going to tell you everything you need to know ahead of the launch of this iconic game. We're coming at you from like two different angles. I am a Paper Mario aficionado, expert.
Oh, expert.
Fan,
You've deemed yourself an expert. Good.
And you are a Paper Mario newbie.
A moron, idiot. What? Choose your word.
You're saying it for me, so I don't need to choose
This is a fun way to approach this game, though. You know, looking at your perspective, looking at my perspective, we're going to really dig into what this game is about, what makes it so special, what are some things that I should be looking forward to. And we have the game on set with us, special guest on the set. Yes. Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door for GameCube. Yes, welcome.
Welcome.
Very exciting.
Welcome to the show, Paper Mario. Yes. So it's going to be fun. I'm really excited to just go through this journey with you, because this is such a special game to me, and I can't wait to like almost re-experience it through you, who's never actually finished the game before. So you'll be really coming in fresh and getting to experience some of these really amazing moments, like for the first time. So it should be really fun. But yeah, there are some very unique things about this game, which is why it's so iconic, that I think it will surprise you. And then you might want to like mentally prepare for.
Oh, really?
I know.
I mean, even beyond that, it's just nice that there is a game to look forward to on the Switch. We've been through a bit of a dry spell, and who knows, maybe there'll be more of a dry spell after that. But for now, we're in that kind of month to go time frame. It's like, let's just focus on this and really
relish
enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah, this is like a special thing now, to be able to relish a big new Nintendo game coming. This is not even a new game, but feels new. So it'll be fun to...
It's new to me.
Exactly. It's new to some of us. It'll be fun to just like really dig into all the things. And there's a lot to talk about with this game, so it's going to be fun.
That's right. Before we dig into that, I did want to just make a note that on our channel, we've been in our real handheld appreciation era.
We have been.
And we had the big idea of, we've got a pretty cool 3DS collection of games and stuff. Let's bring those in and just go through it all and show the good people what we have. Because that was a system that we saw through its entire life cycle at Nintendo, beginning to end. And going through it all, I think that is the biggest individual collection of games that I have.
I think so.
I did just a quick, rough count, and I think it's about 100 or so games, and I know you've got some more too.
Right.
So that's a video we have up on our channel, is us going through all of that game by game. I think there's going to be some games that you have forgotten about.
Oh, I'm sure.
Some fun stories to go along with all of it. Maybe you can help us find some rare stuff. I've definitely got a lot of sealed games, so I don't
signed games.
I don't check like what the value of any of this stuff is, because again, my life philosophy now is just hold on to everything.
Yeah, hold on to it.
For as long as you can, bury me with it. In the great pyramid that shall be erected in my honor one day.
You're going to be buried alongside those 3DS?
Bury it all with me.
You hold like a Pokemon Sun and a Pokemon Moon in each hand and just lay it down.
I am now at rest. I put them on my eyes, yes. There we go.
You can give that to the River Styx. Give them a 3DS game. I like that.
Eternal rest. So I think that's a fun thing people can check out. And if you like it, almost every weekend now I have been rummaging through the space where I have all these games.
Yeah.
And I've been striving to get a little bit more just cleaned up with it. Every system, every generation does have a box or a series of boxes.
Yeah.
But you can always get a little bit further along with it.
Is this your time finally? Because I've been trying to convince you to move your collection into our office.
Well, to be quite honest, I don't think we have the space for it here.
Well,
it's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of shelving space that we could put in. I'm looking around right now because I'm like, we could probably do it.
I'm definitely open to that, but I wouldn't want to bring it all in here and then have the realization of like, oh, this is more than you can handle.
I see. Okay, well we should think about it, because I think it'll be fun.
It's a lot of game, and I don't think you can handle it, Krysta.
I can handle it. Trust me. You have no idea what I can handle. Why do you know? But yeah, I feel like I'm like literally looking around the room right now. I'm like, we have space to like do it. I'm imagining digital eclipse again, you know, in Mike's office.
Yeah.
It could be our office. It could be Mike's office.
So again, several weeks ago for my birthday, you got me the Analog Pocket. Thank you again.
Oh boy.
I will never stop thanking you for that.
Oh wow.
But
never?
I have started to go through those collections of the systems that are supported on that and just rounding that all up. And I did get a really good selection of GBA games, Game Boy Advance. And I even got these very cute little like...
stand things?
It's not quite a stand, but you can just stack up all your carts very neatly in a little row.
That makes me so happy right now.
I got a couple of those. So I'm feeling good about the GBA collection.
You were saying this morning when we were talking about this, is the GBA collection is one that you regretfully have sold a lot of?
No, not GBA. I have GBA.
Okay, which one is it?
Game Boy and Game Boy Color. I have close to nothing.
I see.
Sadly. I used to have a really good collection for that, but again, there was a point in my life where I sold off a lot of things.
I see.
I sold off some of my NES and SNES. I sold off my entire collection of Nintendo Powers, and I just sold off everything Game Boy.
There's some regrets there.
And I don't remember exactly why. I think it was like, well, you know, maybe this was around the time the GBA was coming out, and it was like, well, we're moving on to a new generation. I don't think I'll need this anymore. Well, what do you know?
What do you know?
Decades later, I do actually need it badly.
You actually need it. And it's one of those things where, like, you were a poor college student, you know, and you need money.
Right. A lot of people were in that position of like, you know, there's a lot that I could do with this if I turned it into money. Obviously, very short-sighted at the time, but there's no way to know back then. Yeah. So I have been going through. I've been spending a lot of time on eBay, a lot of time watching some videos of like, what did I miss?
Right.
Because you know that original Game Boy hardware.
Lacking in tech, but still had some good stuff.
It had some great games, but the technology of it was so lacking. Like looking at that screen,
it's pretty hard.
It's really hard. There was no light, had ghosting. It was just like the puke green. So now I do feel proper. Now again, like you know, all these years later, I do feel properly equipped finally to appreciate that library. Right. The shame is I have none of it.
Well, you can get it again.
That's the catch-22.
You can get it again. It's okay. Calm down.
That's where I am now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyways, we will be sharing our huge 3DS collection, which we do have, and we've not thrown them into the trash can. So yeah, I am very like weirdly attached to my 3DS collection.
Have you thrown any 3DS items in the trash ever?
No, actually.
No?
Yeah. 3DS is a system that I feel like I had. Like I forever just liked it, you know, even from the beginning to the end. And now, like again, I have been literally playing my 3DS. It's been playing so much Chrono Trigger, so I've been taking it around with me all the time. And I'm like, yes, I do truly love this thing. Yeah. And I don't have those feelings of like I want to get rid of it. Now I have so much nostalgia for it. Like I don't think I can get rid of any of the stuff anymore.
There is one thing I couldn't find that I was like, I'm sure I have this. It must be somewhere. But I really couldn't find it anywhere, so I must not have it.
What is it?
It's something that we made, and it is a large AR card. So
I remember this.
So we learned, and again, the 3DS has an AR camera. It came with those little cards, and this had like a little question mark block.
Yes.
And you could make your me pop out of that.
Yes.
And along the way, somebody told us, like, hey, if you were to somehow
combine them.
If you were somehow to make a larger AR card, you would get an even bigger me. So we were doing some community event. We were doing a lot of community events to build Street Pass, to build all of these sort of social functions of the 3DS. We had custom made, like 3-foot long AR cards. Yeah. And you could basically like, hey, take a picture of me with my me. And it was like a Krysta size me. Super cool. I sadly no longer have it. I mean, you can make it. That's no big deal.
It's no big deal. You can make one.
But that
was fun.
That was, again, we had stuff that's kind of off the grid, you know?
Off the grid,
stuff like
man.
that.
Yeah. It's some good stuff.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff.
So, very fun stuff. All right, enough about that. Let's get into our conversation about Paper Mario. But first, we have to say this episode is sponsored by Notion. Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Notion. Notion is having a moment, I feel. I'm hearing a lot of people talking about using Notion. Us included, of course.
Yes, yes.
But when it comes to Notion, we are living in an era of information overload.
Oh my gosh.
Would you agree with that? Yes.
Yes, it's very stressful.
We have more knowledge than ever before, but what do we do with it all? And if you're a Notion, you put that knowledge to work.
That's right. Yeah, you can use so many of Notion's awesome features to do things like bring all of your, brainstorming or creative ideas to life. It can really help you organize your projects. And if you're working with another person, like we work with each other daily and need to keep all of our thoughts and all of our ideas and plans in one place, organized. We use Notion a lot for all of that to keep all this going, which is amazing.
That's right. It combines all your notes and docs into one place. No searching around. Where is this file? What did you make that in? I don't know where it is. No more of that. That's annoying when that happens.
Yeah.
A lot of time saving. There's an AI assistant that can help you save all sorts of time doing little menial tasks like that. Great if you are a big business, all the way down to just an individual.
Yeah.
And again, I've been saying, my mom has an 80th birthday party. We're about a month away.
Are you planning now with Notion?
We're planning away
Nice.
with my sister, who's all the way on the East Coast.
Nice.
Get some Notion action
love
going
that.
to keep us all organized, holding this great big party for her.
Oh, wow.
Isn't
That's
that
so
great?
cool that
Yes.
it works for, things in your personal life and things in your professional life as well. So,
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So you can try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/kittenkrista. That's all lowercase letters, notion.com/kittenkrista, and start turning ideas into action. And when you use our link, you are supporting our show. That's notion.com/kittenkrista.
And we'll put the link right over here and also in the description below.
All right, Paper Mario.
Paper Mario.
So the way we're going to go through this is you are going to take us through some of the basics of the game as our self-proclaimed expert/genius in residence.
Fangirl.
Yes. And after that, we're going to do something fun where we have each prepared 5 questions for one another from our perspective.
Yes.
Because I, as the novice/moron, want to learn more about this game from you.
The genius
And you,
goddess.
as the genius, want to ask me. I don't know what you could possibly ask me, but you've got something.
I'm going to put you in a dunce cap and make you sit in the corner for your portion of this part of the show.
I should say, this is my game.
You have the game.
I have the game.
But
I started
you've never
it.
played it.
I got distracted.
Which
Whatever.
is very strange. But anyways,
Listen, it happens.
this is your game. I have my own
Yeah.
game at home.
Do you?
I do.
Not in the trash?
No.
Okay.
GameCube also, special place in the heart.
Yes.
GameCube and 3DS.
You're one of those GameCube kids.
I'm one of those GameCube
Yeah.
kids. I am.
You were born in the late 90s. That's how it goes. Yes.
I love it.
All right. So take us through everything we need to know about this game coming to Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I have 5 sort of big things about this game that I think made it really unique.
Okay.
And I think that these are the things that, a lot of Paper Mario fans saw when we played the game. We were like, oh, this is so different. Like, this is such an interesting twist for a Nintendo game. So we're going to go through those 5 things, and then we'll ask each other the big questions.
Perfect.
So the first thing is that the game, for a Nintendo game that's usually very like sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops, is a little bit darker. It has
Really?
kind of a different, the vibe of it is still incredibly colorful, and you can see that with the trailers and the screenshots and stuff like that. But there's like this underpinning of darkness with like the storylines and some of the things that you just like kind of makes you think twice. Like one very sort of example that you guys already might have picked up watching the trailer, when you first arrive into Rogueport, which is like the main little hub in the game,
Okay.
there is a noose in the
Oh.
middle of the town square. So
Dark.
it's a little,
Yeah.
it's a little bit dark. Like it's not like, as cutesy and sort of, like G-rated as most Nintendo
Oh.
games are.
I'm already learning things. Love
Yeah,
this.
so there's that. And then in the Japan game, this one, I don't think they're going to bring over to the US game because I think it's like really dark. If you go into a house in Rogueport, there's like little alleyways you can explore. If you go into a house, there's like a crime scene and there's a chalk outline of a toad. So that means like that toad's dead, or like what happened?
That's only in the Japan version?
That's only in the Japan version.
Do you remember what's in the US version? It's just
I think it's
not
just
there?
like it's like a crime scene, but there's like no
that
chalk
is
outline.
not there.
Yeah.
People couldn't handle that. Okay.
It's too dark. But like that
Wow.
indicates that there's a dead toad, basically, somehow in this game. There's also some other storylines with really like key characters that will join your party and become like, you know, kind of like your team that you go along with, that have like really sad, touching, like fully fledged storylines. You know, one character is looking for his like he's trying to get over the loss of his father. One character's wife is dead. One character is like horribly bullied by her sisters. So like these are not typical, I think, Nintendo-y storylines where you're really dealing with like death and loss and like almost like real world issues. But they package it in a way where it's still like super lighthearted and charming and funny, so you don't feel like miserable playing it, obviously. But it kind of is interesting that in this time, Nintendo had a game like this where these characters had actual like depth and real problems. And you feel I think this is one of the reasons why this game is so memorable, because you feel so attached to those characters, because you're like helping them overcome like an actual problem, you know? So, yeah, so then this sort of underpinning of a more serious or kind of darker vibe is something that is kind of throughout the game. So just be prepared for it. I cried a lot when I played this game because of these moments, because they're very touching.
Okay,
like, you know,
I wouldn't have guessed that at all from the visuals. I would have figured this is a lighthearted romp.
It's very light. It is lighthearted. It is very funny, but there is like some serious stuff in there that makes you. But I think they do a good job of it, because it really makes you care about these characters and the storyline.
All right.
So that's the first thing that maybe like players that have never played Thousand Year Door would not have realized, especially if you're looking at the visuals. It's like, oh, this is so like cute and colorful.
Okay.
There are some very unique characters. We just kind of talked about a little bit of them. And there are some characters that were treated very differently in the GameCube game. Regionally, the characters were portrayed very differently. So it's very curious to see how Nintendo is going to handle these characters in the year of Donkey Kong.
In the new version.
2024, yes.
Because,
you know, nowadays there's more awareness, I think, and people are hopefully more sensitive to how people identify and people, you know, all that stuff. Like the specific character I'm talking about that everyone that's played this game knows is Vivian. And Nintendo is I'm very curious. I bet you anything that, we used to have lots of conversations with the localization team at Nintendo when these kinds of questions would come up of how to handle certain sensitive and just making sure that they're taking into account all the different perspectives.
Sure.
They're definitely hopefully having that conversation about some of these characters, because, I don't know how they're going to handle that in 2024. Like, how would you do it without alienating certain people?
Well, the internet's informed me that localization is literally graffiti on the original intent of the developers. So hopefully they just put it all through Google Translate. Oh. That's my hope.
Oh my God. Terrifying thought. Terrifying thought. There's also like some.
So that's kind of an open-ended. We don't know.
We don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting for you to kind of be on the lookout for those. Sorts of things. And there's like more than one, you'd say.
So there's kind of three things that I would say that stood out to me. One is obviously Vivian's character, and everyone knows that. I think everyone is looking for how they're going to write and just sort of portray this character. Okay. This is a main character in the game. This character is like on your team, and you are interacting with this character a lot.
All right.
Very interesting to see how Nintendo will do this. In this version. The other thing is that there are some like break the fourth wall moments in this game where like characters reference other Nintendo things. Oh. So like this was like the GameCube era, right? So they're referencing things like Fire Emblem and like there's like a Game Boy like that shows up. I think it's a Game Boy Advanced actually that shows up. So like will they keep that Or will they change that so that it's more like modern?
I see.
Because it's like that thing where you like rewatch a show from like the 90s and then like you're like, oh, this totally holds up.
Yeah.
And then they take out the flip phone
or something,
or like a first gen iPhone, and you're like,
oh,
this doesn't hold up.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know. It can go either. I don't have a preference either way, but it's like one of those things. It's like, do you stick with the time period that it was released in and keep that kind of like memory box, like little time capsule,
right?
Or do you like completely in this remaster like modernize it so that it feels like it came out in 2024, right? So that's really interesting. There's a lot of that in the game where they like totally you have dialogue and conversation with the NPC characters, and they totally break the fourth wall, and you're like, oh, you're referencing like. Because Intelligent Systems, made this game so that they reference other games that they made, like Fire Emblem and stuff. So, yeah, we'll see how they do it. The other thing with this game that's I think is really cute, I don't know, again, in the year 2024, if we're as, okay with it, but everybody has a crush on Mario in this game, and a lot of characters in the game just up and kiss Mario, all the time. So, he's just getting kissed, by strangers, and, people he's just met. People are just coming up to him and just blatantly flirting / maybe assaulting Mario with their kisses. I don't know. This is another thing where it's it was real cute in whatever 2000 whatever it was. But do we care now? Should I care? I don't know. I don't know. All
right.
So it's these kinds of things are really interesting, right? Because it's 20 years ago, the world is different.
Right.
So how's it going to look now?
Okay.
But it's very charming. So it wasn't like Mario, Mario's fine.
Right.
I think. The next thing is just about the gameplay and battling. And I think this is the part where you're going to be most interested in. I think this is, and we complain about this because you and I have played Paper Mario games after Thousand Year Door. And we've complained about sometimes the gameplay is very slow. The battles are really, really long. They feel like a slog. I think when we played which Origami King
was a real culprit of that.
Where they had the little
rings,
wheel.
Yeah.
So we had complaints about that in the newer Paper Mario games. But I think this battle system is so perfectly honed so that it feels RPG and deep. It feels like a deep RPG battle system, but it doesn't feel like it's, super just kind of sloggish.
Not tedious.
And tedious, exactly.
Well, that's good.
So I think you're going to really like that. The gameplay is a lot quicker compared to other Paper Mario games, in my opinion. I think that they do a lot with this. So every time you get into a battle, you're on a stage, basically, and you have this audience of toads that help you. So there's things that you can do to build your star power to rise up the audience, and then that can unleash a special attack.
Okay.
And you
from the audience?
Yes.
Oh.
And you build your the people in your audience as you get further in the game, you have more and more audience members. You start with 5 and then you end up with 35. So you have this audience interaction but in your battling. That's really interesting and fun, and it makes it feel very performative when you're battling. So I really love that when I played the original game. So it has the star power, the audience grants you these
Something
star
to look
power.
forward to.
Yeah, and then there's the traditional it feels satisfying because the traditional level up system. There is a great badge system. So many people are saying this game. Thousand Year Door walked because Mario Wonder could run because the badges
there
are very similar to how Wonder is, where it augments a lot of your gameplay. And there's a huge collection aspect of that, of getting badges and unlocking special badges and things like that. That's really fun. And yeah, you do get the traditional Mario RPG style of the characters level up. They have some sort of progression. The badges will further augment how you want to play, and then the battles are pretty snappy and doesn't feel like a slog. So I think you're gonna like it compared to some of the bad Paper Mario experiences that we've had.
Yeah, that all sounds good.
Yeah, so that's gonna be good.
All right.
The other thing that's really unique about this game are these cameos that happen in between chapters. So during the main chapters, you're playing as Mario. You have your like party or whatever. So it's very much Mario is the main character. You do have these sections in between, like these little interstitials where you either play as Bowser or you play as Peach. And then Luigi's not playable, but he also makes cameos during the game to like, and he's like on his own adventure that's like, it makes no sense. Like it's hilarious, but it makes absolutely no sense. You just think the whole game you think to yourself like, is he on some kind of like, is he okay? Like, because he's just like in his own little world, but whatever. But you are playing as Bowser and Peach.
What are you doing as them?
So Bowser is very upset that he wasn't the one that kidnapped Princess Peach. So him and Kamek are on like their little like own little like adventure to find her just so he can kidnap her.
Yeah.
But it's basically like ridiculous comedy relief because he's just a bumbling fool in this thing, and he's just like, the dialogue is hilarious. He just like bumbles around and is like just being, kind of like dopey Bowser the whole time. And then Peach, so she gets kidnapped in the very beginning of the game, and she gets like taken away. And you probably saw in the trailer where like she's with this big like supercomputer, but she's like doing stuff in that world too. Like she's doing stuff on her own in that area. And she's interacting with like the characters there. So there's like real playable portions for both.
Like how long are these little things?
They're not like as long as a chapter, but they're probably like
it's like a little quick in between chapters thing.
Yeah, couple minutes, short little interstitials, but they are
that
playable characters.
I did not know that at all.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's neat.
Because you actually get to learn a lot about Peach and like her side of the story and her perspective, and then obviously Bowser is for comic relief and Luigi's for comic relief, and then the main chonky parts of the story is obviously with Mario's perspective.
That sounds very cool.
So really cool.
Okay.
And then I know like the first thing I said about this game is it's dark and kind of emotional, but the last thing I'll say about this game is that it is so funny. Like the dialogue is written so well. It's truly one of the the great feats of, I think, like writing. It's done so well. Like all the conversations, whether it's with main characters or like the main story conversations, to just going into a random house and talking to an NPC. It's like so well crafted, and you're just laughing like the whole time because it's ridiculous and hilarious. And has so much personality, and I don't think I struggled to name another Mario game that has this much personality.
So other Paper Mario games like you wouldn't even put in the same echelon necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played another Paper Mario game that has the same amount of just humor and personality and clever dialogue. And I mean, there's some good like one-liners in some of these Paper Mario games, but like from beginning to end, like that's what you'll be doing. You just want to talk to everybody because it's going to be funny and good.
That's good. Yeah.
And even like I was saying before, even with the storylines where it's a bit more emotional or serious, and you're having like a conversation with somebody about his wife that passed away, it's like it's still done in like a very sort of lighthearted, charming way where it feels like it fits with the rest of the game. But it, at the same time, makes you really care about the characters and like really just feel very connected to the storyline.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I definitely knew this about the series, but to know that this is like, in your eyes, the best by a good margin is really encouraging. I think it's hard to be funny in games for some reason. I mean, it's hard to be funny in general, but then to apply it to a game format for some reason, there just are not many that are even attempting that. Right. So that's another thing to look for. You've really done a good job of getting me hyped up now.
Are you hyped?
Yes, I'm getting hyped.
I'm a genius. I'm so excited. Yeah, it's gonna be, like when I was making this list, I was getting hyped. I was like, I can't wait to play this game again. I played this game a lot of times, and I can't wait.
So this is that's all for your introduction?
That's my 5 things.
Okay.
Yes.
So now we have 5 questions for each other.
Okay.
And we can take turns maybe?
Sure.
Doing these? As the noob, I'll go first, if you don't mind.
Please.
Is that okay? Yes. So maybe this is a big question, but so where did this series, quote, go wrong after this game came out?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because I think that is
the game after this was
Super Paper Mario.
Super Paper Mario.
And I think this
so
is
different.
This is like the prevailing wisdom. Is this was really like the peak. And they've been trying to recapture that for all of these games, some more successfully than others, but it's
haven't been
everybody's
able to.
just like holding up this one game as the shining example of what it could be, what the series could be.
Yeah, exactly.
But they just can't do it after 20 years. What happened? So what happened?
Yeah. I feel like where they may have gone wrong is they tried to shoehorn the paper aesthetic, which was very unique at the time, obviously.
Yeah.
Like they had, obviously, the original Paper Mario and then Thousand Year Door, and then they went to Super Paper Mario. And they tried to, like, shoehorn that aesthetic and, like, gameplay mechanics that can go along with the paper aesthetic into other things, and it didn't work. Like, they paid maybe, like, too much attention to the paper crafty part of it and not enough attention to the other parts of the game that made it really magical, which was like the story and the dialogue and the characters.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling based on what you were saying, is like with this one, they just tried to make a really good RPG versus like, I did feel like those other games got a little gimmick heavy.
Right.
And some of those gimmicks were fine, but like building the whole game around it did get a little tired at times. So like, does this game have a lot of like, again, the paper specific gameplay, or is it just kind of there as a visual style?
I think it did it in a way where it made sense. Like, yes, there are some puzzles where the paper part is important, like you turn yourself and you can slide through like a narrow opening. But it wasn't done to death, you know?
Right.
And it wasn't built around this like paper aesthetic. It was really built around the storyline and the characters and, you know, a really good RPG, a really, you know, solid, fun RPG battle mechanic, which is what I think a good RPG is, right? That's how you set a foundation for a really good RPG. And yeah, like with these other games, I think they went way too far with like those kinds of like art style gimmicks or, just like the paper craft. Like like for the next like 4 or 5 games or whatever it was, that was kind of the thing, right? It's like, let's just focus on the gameplay mechanics that are like, because he's made out of paper. And it got a little bit like constrained, I think, in that way.
Yeah, I wonder why they've felt the need to do that. I mean, surely somebody on this team has the same feeling and can raise their hand and point this out, but I mean, it's good that you want to differentiate and try new things, but it feels like it's kind of at the detriment of the core experience.
I wonder, like, I do feel like this game, sometimes when you think about it, it does not check the Nintendo DNA boxes in the best way.
Yeah.
I think because it is a little bit, like, unique and weird, that's why we all fell in love with it, because it was so different than what you expect a Nintendo game to be. And I think they try to like bring it back into the, let's check these 5 boxes for it to be a good, quote, Nintendo game. And that like shoehorned it into this little container that I don't think this type of game like even fits into. So if they had just embraced the weirdness of it and went further down that path, I think they would have done so much better with the series, you know? And like we saw it, like when they started to embrace the weirdness with Mario overall, like we got a game like Wonder that turned out to be so much more interesting than just like kind of a bland 2D platformer, you know?
Yeah.
So they do have this issue, I think, where like they try to like fit themselves into this expected Nintendo box and it doesn't work.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first question is probably not a surprise to you, but like you own this game. It's literally right here.
There it is.
When it first came out, obviously you said that you played maybe like a very small amount of it and then skipped the rest. Did not even have a desire to, you know, go back or play any more of it. Like what about it didn't hook you? You
know, I should go back and look at like in that year or in that month or that window, like what other games were coming out, because I feel like what happened was it was a dense period of time where there were like a bunch of games and I started on this one and then maybe I picked up another game and I got a bit more hooked into that And as you know how these things go, like you kind of move on, and it's hard. Sometimes it can be hard to go back. I think that's what happened with this. It wasn't that I disliked what I played or anything.
Right.
I think I just got distracted by something else, and it just never clicked with me to like, oh yes, I need to. Maybe because it's kind of a longer game. I don't know. But here we are today.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
We're gonna right these wrongs.
Like it's one of those things where like on paper it's haha on paper.
Yeah.
It's a game that you typically would really love.
Totally.
You love RPGs. You love Mario, obviously.
I had the first Paper Mario. I played that on the N64.
Yes,
So yeah, I don't know. It is one of those mysteries.
And you've never in all these years had the desire to even go back to replay, because the game is in like people's conversations.
It's definitely crossed my mind, but you know, as you get past, it's like, oh, where's the GameCube? Got to hook it up. I don't have an HDMI for this GameCube
so it
anymore.
Becomes, like inaccessible.
It becomes a bit more like tedious.
Barrier to enter.
The friction. Yeah. The friction is higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've replayed this game on the GameCube I played it obviously when it first came out, and then like a couple years later I would like replay it again. Because I love it that much.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting that even though like you were distracted, you never even had the desire to go back to it.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Here we are though.
My next question for you is a very simple one, and maybe one you can't even answer because it might be a spoiler.
Oh.
What is the 1,000-Year Door?
It's me thinking if I can answer this in a way.
If you can't answer it, just bail out. Do not spoil this, please.
Well, you need to open it. Is the thing.
That you need to open the door.
It's an actual door. How's that? It's
Sure.
it's not like a metaphor for something. It's literally like a giant door.
All right.
And in the game, you have to open it.
All right.
Okay.
Let's stick with that before I can't believe I even asked this question. What was I thinking?
My next question for you is, we know that this game has so many passionate fans, and like you probably heard a lot of the dialogue around this game like throughout the many years before this remake was announced. Like there's every time when we were at Nintendo, every single time we would announce a Paper Mario game, we would like gird our loins for like the crazy comments from the 1,000-Year Door fans. What was what kind of comments did you see that made you more curious about this game?
I mean, it was just
you never played it.
I mean, it was just everybody very consistently saying that this was the best one, and I definitely felt like there was a bit of a decline, but maybe I didn't feel it as severely as other people because I didn't experience this game.
Okay.
So I did like Super Paper Mario. I thought that was fun, flipping back between 2D and 3D with more of like a platforming focus. I like that. I did think that game was very funny. But like Sticker Star, like we all know how we feel about that. Even though I somehow finished that game.
I did too, but I was not happy about it.
I don't know why. I think I forced myself.
I had to call people to help me with the Wiggler level.
To do that. And then the two after that, Color Splash and Origami King, I maybe fell off like halfway.
I also finished both of those against my will.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
There were some moments in those games that were like glimpses of what it could have been,
But again, I definitely felt this gimmick heavy, this gimmick reliant sort of approach. And I was like, why don't you just... I don't know why this series got pigeonholed into having to rely on gimmicks.
Yeah.
Like, just make a good RPG.
Right.
Like, it's not like Nintendo has so many RPG series that this one needs to be hyper differentiated from all the others.
Exactly.
Make a good game.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Next question for me is, what other RPGs remind you of the 1,000-Year Door, if any? Just so I can try and anchor myself to it's maybe in this kind of experience.
What other RPGs remind?
Or even just games. It doesn't have to be RPGs.
I feel like it does have that good balance between humor and seriousness. So we played a lot of RPGs this year. We played Like a Dragon, we played Final Fantasy. Obviously these two games are gameplay style-wise are nothing like this Paper Mario game, but they do a good job of that humor and seriousness aspect of it. So that part of it does remind me. And I like this aspect in RPGs because it makes you it gives you a break from sometimes the deep slog of an RPG, right? So I do think that is one thing that's that reminds me of this game is that kind of balance. The other thing is I do think that some of the Mario and Luigi series, with the type of humor that they use in the dialogue, those games are different feeling experiences, obviously, than Paper Mario. But there is something about the dialogue and the writing that's very similar to like a Mario and Luigi game. So
Okay.
I would say like kind of mix those together because you get a really good, really great storyline, but it has like that lighthearted, Nintendo feel. But it does have, like I said, has some serious aspects to it too.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, next question from me to you is what needs to happen for this game to be a hit for you?
Well, so again, it was interesting that you were going through kind of some of the basic elements of the game that were unknown to me.
Okay.
So I think so far, like they have shown, little snippets. I was like, yeah, that sure is a Mario role-playing game where Mario's paper. But I think they could do well to really emphasize those things to people like me who are either new to the series or missed this game.
Right.
To really emphasize what makes it stand out and why people love it so much. Because a lot of those things you were saying were really unique and they were really appealing, but this is the first time I'm learning about them.
Oh, wow.
So they've got about a month to go. Like I know they usually do like an overview trailer or that sort of thing, but like they really need to dig into this game. And
there's a lot to dig into too. So.
And be a bit unabashed of playing these things up because it could be easy if you don't know and if you haven't been following this series to just say, oh, this is just another one of those. And people like this one, but maybe I don't really like this series, so I'm gonna skip it.
Yeah.
They need to do a bit more with that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, this is an interesting one. So from what you have seen so far of this Switch version, does it look more to you like a remake or a remaster?
Oh, not this question.
And again, the debate of what is a remake or a remaster. So I guess it comes down to like, is it just a very faithful update? And obviously they've done a lot to the graphics. I've seen a lot of side by side of the graphics. But do you think they are maybe taking the opportunity to improve an area of gameplay? You pointed out all the things with the writing that they may or may not. We don't know what they're going to do with it. But just based on what you have seen, what do you think it skews closer to?
I think it's a remake from what I've seen. It looks like a pretty faithful, frame by frame recreation.
That would be more of a remaster.
Oh, wait. I don't know the definitions of these. What is the one where you're not changing it?
So we just did Final Fantasy Remake, where they changed a lot.
Okay, then remaster.
So I think remaster is just more like we are updating this for a new platform.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
I don't know that. I don't. See, this is why I need to ask you these questions, because I don't know
I've seen
the difference.
So I have seen a lot of people asking that question lately. And again, to the question of what Nintendo can do, like I think they should more definitively clarify this.
Yes, I agree.
Because people want to know, and people are mad about them selling these old games at $60. But again, I think with this one, like I don't think anybody's really going to be that mad.
No.
If it is just like, we kept it as is. It's beloved for a reason.
Right.
And we are.
This one I'm not mad about.
It's going to look beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's going to be
accessible.
It's going to be that classic experience that you already love. They should be more clear about that versus all the guesswork that's happening.
I think so.
Right now.
Like a lot of people are doing like a lot of analysis around whether or not they're changing things in the game, and so far it doesn't look like things are changing. So it looks like just a very a prettied up version of the original. Beyond the little localization of modernization of some of these characters, I can't see them like even needing to really change up things in the game. They might do something like they did with Super Mario's RPG, where they add like difficulty levels or just like quality of life changes, but I don't think that catapults it into the remake category. I think that makes it just sort of like you've modernized and graphically updated this game for 2024.
I agree that's where it seems to be headed.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, here's a very provocative question.
Uh-oh.
Are you worried that you're not going to love this game as much as everyone else?
Well, that does. So one of the questions that I had, and maybe we can just glom this onto yours, is like, is there anything that might feel outdated about this game?
Exactly.
Where, again, in your mind, like it's one of those experiences that is like, I love this for what it was back then. So even if it has some of those quirks or things that might feel antiquated, it's not going to bother you. But me coming to it for the first time, if there is something that's clunky or it's like, oh, we've really moved beyond this in terms of gameplay or game structure or something like that, maybe that would bug me a little bit more than you.
Right.
But I mean, everything you've said about the personality and everything you've said about the gameplay does sound, like it's something that I would like. So I'd say no, I'm not super worried based on what I know right now.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I don't have just like the clearest, like crystal clearest memory on is the puzzle elements in this game. There are puzzle elements in this game that I know sometimes you struggle a little bit with, especially the Nintendo way of puzzles where, especially with these older games, where there is just like the one solution.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that solution, then you kind of struggle a little bit.
But if it's something like, talk to this one random NPC to get the update on where you're supposed to go, and you would never, you literally have to talk to everybody to get it. Like that kind of stuff is a bit dated.
Yes. There actually might be a couple of those. I don't remember exactly, but this is one of those games where you are kind of like poking around a little bit.
The good news is there are guides aplenty already.
Exactly.
So
There's definitely a guide.
It's not something that I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to get stuck forever.
But it does have those have those trappings from back when they used to make puzzle games in this way.
Even then, so no, I'd say I'm probably not that worried.
Yeah. There's also like some like sort of environmentally kind of puzzles that are paper based, that just, I thought they were fine, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, don't forget your paper, you know?
Yeah.
So things like that you might encounter that may feel like, oh, like this is not like super obvious, or this is a little dated or a little clunky, but other than that, like the core of the game, like the mechanics and all that stuff, I think you'll find them to be like very, very good.
Yeah. So. All right. Believe it or not, I have more than 5 questions. Well, again, stop looking.
What?
And
you said prepare 5 questions.
I felt like, again, as you went through your thing, there might be some things that we just check off along the way. So I have some extras. So beyond Mario, you mentioned some of this cast of characters. Who should I look forward to meeting? Like, I'm looking at this box art right now.
Yeah.
The Goomba with the ponytail. Like, I've definitely seen a lot of her.
That's great.
This Play It Loud looking Yoshi character.
Yep, Yoshi Kid. That's a good one.
We got a Goomba with a Band-Aid on its snout.
Koops is great.
So what do I need to know just broadly about these characters?
They all have amazing backstories and personalities. Like Koops.
But are they like? Do they join your party?
They do.
Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yoshi Kid, Koops. You can see Goombella is like your little helper. She's the one that like kind of is your guide. Not annoying though, which is good because sometimes like a little helper guide that they usually have in these games can be like a little annoying.
Right.
She's not annoying. So she's really good. And then there's also Admiral Bobbery. That's my favorite character. Just because his name is Admiral. Is it Captain Bobbery? Or Admiral Bobbery? I believe it's.
It doesn't
Admiral
matter.
Bobbery. Anyways, yes, I love Admiral Bobbery.
So it's a lot of like original characters. In your party.
Yes.
Versus like.
And you get them by like helping them throughout the story. You need them to do something for you generally.
Very basic question. How many people are in there? 2 people in your party at a time?
You and 2 others. Yes.
Oh, you and 2 others.
Yeah.
So 3.
Is it
up to 3? But it's not like a super big group.
No,
okay.
I don't think it's a super big group.
Okay.
And then Vivian, obviously, you'll learn a lot about Vivian and have her in your party. And then there's also, did we talk about Yoshi Kid already? This little guy?
The Play It Loud.
The Play It Loud Yoshi.
The Play It Loud Yoshi, yes.
Yeah. Which is, I think I was reading, we're going to get to some of our amazing Patreon community comments. You'll meet that character, Play It Loud Yoshi, in what is a lot of people's favorite, and they say it's like the best chapter of any RPG ever.
Yeah.
So that chapter featuring that character is like a lot of people's favorites. So I think you'll really like that character and look forward to like, you know, getting him in your party and
Yeah.
stuff, and like going through all that stuff.
Goombella, you said her name is?
Yes.
I think we should do some head cosplay with you, where you just kind of lower yourself down, put your head here, and we can put some little fake feet and a little hat,
Yeah.
and you can be Goombella.
Little.
You can just pretend that you're just a walking head.
I can do that.
I think we should do that.
Okay. Some people have pointed out that they added like a strap to Goombella's helmet, head helmet thing,
Yeah.
and now it looks like Captain Toad. There's
Oh,
rumors
like a headlamp?
going around.
Yeah, it looks like she has a headlamp.
But they added like the red strap, like Captain
Okay.
Toad's little red band. And now people are like, is this some sort of signaling that she's part of Captain Toad's brigade? Wow. I was like, oh, you guys are going way off the deep end here. But yeah, there's a lot of original characters.
Yeah.
A lot of original characters.
Right. Okay. Are you out of questions?
No, I think I have one more.
Okay.
Wait, I lost my paper the whole
I'm going to go again then while you look. So you said this is the best written Paper Mario game.
Yeah.
Would you go so far as to say this is the best written Nintendo game you've ever played? I mean, some of the Mario and Luigi, those are very funny.
Those are really good. It might be, actually. It really might be.
Not necessarily just the funniest, but just like all around best writing.
Yeah, I think all around best writing
Okay.
award goes.
Is this a Nate Bildorf joint?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's the genius.
Nasty Nate himself.
Nasty Nate is
now
in his bag.
Well, now he's the big boss. And it's kind of sad
way.
that he doesn't get a chance to, work on games like this anymore.
I wonder how this makes him feel. He must have a sense of
we'll never know.
Should just talk to Nate. Just text him. Hey Nate, how's it going? But yeah, I bet it makes you feel some type of way because you're like, you have such nostalgia for that time of your life, and also like to have something that so many people just love so much must be a really proud moment,
Yeah, I feel like this was maybe the game that really put the localization team in Treehouse on the map.
I think
as like the best in the business.
Right.
And him specifically being, this tour de force power for the series for so long, for decades.
Yeah.
Like he's too busy with other things these days to be localizing games. But
he's so talented though.
Yeah, he's like a one of a kind, incredible localization talent.
Amazing. Yeah, and I can't wait to play this game because, after playing a game like this and knowing Nate personally, you do see that personality in real life that we know of Nate come through in these characters, that he has a very dry, very like sharp, witty sense of humor, and that's how he naturally is. And it totally comes through in a lot of this writing. So it makes it extra special for sure.
Well, now he's been replaced by Google Translate.
Oh.
So we're all rejoice in happiness.
Sorry, Nate. I have one last question for you.
Okay, you found it.
Which is, what is the one thing you've heard about this game that has confused you the most?
Confused me the most. I wouldn't say there's a lot that I've felt confused by because, again, based on what I've seen, it's kind of one of the more straightforward games. I think your point about these characters is helpful because remember around the time of Origami King there was that interview with Mr. Tanabe?
Yeah.
Where he was like, I'm not allowed to make original characters anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I think this is in reference to that game.
Right.
But again, not knowing it well, I don't know for certain.
Right.
And
such a good point.
That was a really weird interview for him to give.
Yes.
I don't know why he did it or why he said that.
Maybe he was mad.
Because it's like, yes, Nintendo did tighten up the IP guidelines, but guess what? He's like one of the most tenured, most accomplished game developers there. If he wanted to do it, I think he could do it.
He could have asked.
Yes.
Yeah, this is one of those situations like, how could no one ask?
Right, just do it.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got a bit of a bad boy reputation. He's like the bad boy of Nintendo developers in Japan.
You could say that he's the Yoshi kid. He's got the play it loud.
Is he wearing a puka shell necklace?
He could be.
Because Mr. Tanabe was a fan of those from time to time. But
he could be the Yoshi kid of the Nintendo development team.
Yeah, I always thought this is a really weird interview, and I don't know why he said that. We never had a chance to really follow up on that. But it's like, this There's something off about this.
Yeah, because later on in the series, you don't see a lot of super original characters.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So maybe that's the one thing that you have started to clarify for me.
Okay, good.
But again, yeah, there was nothing about this game in a really big way that I was just baffled by.
Okay. That's it.
So I think that speaks to the game itself. So there we go.
Wow.
There's our big primer.
Do you feel ready?
I feel so I'm not joking. I feel so much more knowledgeable about this now.
Wow.
Than I did before. I feel really excited. And I'm looking forward to playing this game in about a month.
Your expectations are not managed at all. You're hyped. They're high. Game of the year, here we come.
Well, I mean, this is not an original game, so it's not like it's going to completely fall off the deep end. You know? Oh no, now you're worried. It's gonna suck. We asked our Patreon community, again, if you played this game, what should I, not you, be looking forward to experiencing for the first time? We got a lot of answers.
I was very happy that some of them echoed what I was going to be talking about today, because I was like, those are things that I loved, so I'm so glad that.
But like people were very enthusiastic in sharing these, which was fun for me. Picked a couple. Shrews says, Chapter 3 of Glitz and Glory, absolutely my favorite chapter in my favorite video game ever.
It's a great chapter.
I don't know anything about this, but now I'm looking forward to Chapter 3.
It's so good.
Would you agree? Chapter 3 is great.
It's so good. You do not expect what happened in Chapter 3 to happen in Chapter 3. You're like, whoa.
Good.
It's great.
WG Grizzy says, I definitely recommend taking time to just talk to NPCs and see what they have to say. One of my favorite things about Thousand Year Door is the writing, and even the most random NPCs tend to have some very silly and fun dialogue, just as you were saying.
Yes, you got to talk to everybody because you want to.
Right. And then finally, Elite Peach. After you clear each chapter, you'll get to play as both Peach and Bowser. It's fun to play as Peach and figure out what's going on in her story, and Bowser's scenes are always hilarious. You are in for a treat.
Yeah, I was really surprised when there were more playable characters in this game than just Mario, so
yeah, that's
pretty cool.
That's something I'm surprised I had not heard about secondhand or seen clips from. Because I mean, clips of this game just get shared like all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's it's that funny and enduring. So that's maybe one of the things I'm looking forward to the most, because I just flat out did not know that.
Yeah, I think it's hard to show it because you might think it's like a cutscene or something, but you're 100% playing as these two characters throughout the game, which is really cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
wow.
As you were saying, we are probably going to spend a lot more time talking about this game as we get a little bit closer, and of course playing it once it finally is out. So this is just the beginning.
And this is going to be our spoiler cast game for the month of June.
June, yes, because it comes out
in May.
Mere days after your birthday
Yes.
in May, but a little bit later in the month. So
Yes.
we'll be perfectly equipped to do this for June.
So we're going to be talking about this game a lot and playing through it, and it's going to be amazing, an amazing experience.
Yeah. Let's take a look at some games we're playing. But first, we have another sponsor to shout out.
Oh boy.
This episode is sponsored by ExpressVPN.
Thank you, ExpressVPN.
Thank you. I'm here to tell you that Netflix, depending on what region you are in the world, has literally different shows available for people in those regions to watch. And if you are not in that region, you shan't be watching it unless you're using ExpressVPN.
That's right. You can use it to change your online location and get access to thousands, millions of more shows from different regions, which is amazing. I use this, I do this. I need to see the Chinese drama.
You've been telling me this for years.
The Japanese anime. I need to see the Korean drama. I need to get access to all the good stuff, okay? And this is how you do it.
Right.
And like Netflix is not cheap these days.
Very true.
If you want to unlock the full potential of your Netflix monthly subscription, you should do this because it literally gives you access to like hundreds of thousands of new shows.
And ExpressVPN has almost 100 different locations, so they got you covered with what you want to see in whatever region you are interested in. And all you do is just open ExpressVPN, select your country, tap a button, refresh Netflix, and you are in. So it is all
super easy.
Extremely simple, and it works with all your devices, phones, laptops, media consoles, smart TVs, and more.
Yes.
Wow. So be smart. Stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting access to a fraction of their content. Get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/KitandKrysta. Don't forget to use our link at expressvpn.com/KitandKrysta to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Wow. 3 months.
Free is great.
That is good.
We're putting the link right here and also in the description below. Get your free
Sweet.
stuff, people.
Okay, games we're playing. It is time for our Chrono Trigger update, but we are going to tread lightly because you have now finished the game.
I have finished the game.
Please choose your words wisely.
Yes.
Ma'am.
Madam. I am so happy to
be done?
No. I like to have we made the decision to replay this game. I'm so happy I did it because this game legitimately is so good. And it still holds up so well. Everything about this game just feels like, how did they make this game in 1995? It's unbelievable. I did it. I beat the game. It was extremely challenging at the end, but I felt very well equipped going in, and I got one of the good endings, which makes me happy. And of course, I went to YouTube immediately and watched all 13 endings.
Oh.
Just the fact.
So you're happy with the ending you got?
I really liked my ending.
Okay.
I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
But just the fact that this game had 13 endings, unbelievable.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like I played this game right, if that makes any sense. I feel like I did what I got the full experience. I didn't feel under-leveled. I didn't feel like I was lacking things. I felt like I spent enough time, balancing doing the side quests to level up before fighting the final boss. I feel like my experience is very fulfilling.
Okay.
At the end. So,
nice.
Yeah.
What are you gonna play on your 3DS now?
Tomodachi Life?
Or what are you just gonna play in general?
I might check out some other 3DS games, actually, since I have mine just hanging out, charged up now. But I do have a ton of indie games that I need to check out. I want to play the Planet of Lana game. I want to play some of the other games I've backburnered. There's another game that we both got codes for that you slap people.
The slapping game?
The slapping game.
Yes.
I want to play that game. I want to slap somebody.
What is the name of that game so we can properly shout that out?
It's called Rose and Camellia.
Rose and Camellia, yes.
Yes.
Rose and Camellia Collection.
Yes. You slap people.
It's about slapping people.
Yeah. But I'm excited about just having a little dabble time now. Before jumping into the next bigger thing.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
Chrono Trigger though. I'm ready.
I think I am pretty close to the end.
Oh.
I am mostly based on what you've been telling me, trying to get my level. So I'm at a point where you reach a point where you can go beat the game, but the game does give you some other things to do, which are all worth doing, and you can get some really good equipment out of it.
Exactly.
So I think it's recommended to do it. But
I didn't do all of them. I did some, but not all.
I think that's what I'm going to do too. I do have kind of a general number in mind for what level I would like to be at. I want to talk to you more outside of this podcast about your party.
Yes.
And what you had everybody doing, because you told me who you used, and I was a bit confused about how you handled healing.
Oh yeah.
But that might be spoilery, so we'll cover that in the full spoiler cast.
Strats.
Right.
I found a really good strategy that I'll tell you about after this.
Okay.
That really helped me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that you could do this, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Because there's some strategy and just some character management that you have to do with that final string of boss battles.
Yeah.
And just getting the right equipment mix for your party members. That was a little bit deeper than I anticipated and made a big difference.
Oh.
Because I did not beat the boss on the first try. I actually died twice. Yeah. So I had to kind of reshuffle some equipment, some people, in order to finally beat the boss. So yeah, I like that though, because it was deeper than just go in with whoever at the highest level and just beat them up, you know?
Yeah.
Which I like the strategy part of it.
Right.
It's great.
One thing that I think we both noticed as we played this is like really a big contrast to a lot of the modern games that we have been playing, where there are some big kind of story arcs in the game that they do not overdo.
Yes.
And that will kind of play themselves out over the course of maybe an hour of normal gameplay.
Yeah.
And I think we were both agreeing, like, if this was a modern game, this would have been like a 10-hour story arc.
Yeah.
That, I don't know, maybe you would have gotten a little bit tired of at the end. They really, I mean, this was obviously a different era, but it's kind of refreshing that they didn't feel the need to totally drag this out or drag as much out of that experience as they could. And it's not that it felt too fast either. It felt like, no, this is a totally natural way for this thing to resolve itself and still give you some tension of not knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Like, I feel like a lot of games now, they feel like length of time and complexity of task is equivalent to emotional, like, your emotional attachment to that story arc. But they do such a good job of keeping you on a very focused path to do some of these big story moments, where you still feel very emotionally attached, but you don't feel like you're kind of slogging through this long 20-hour thing or grinding through it.
Right.
So yeah, whatever kind of, I don't know, like method they use to come up with that way of doing it, like take note, modern developers, because it could be a good way of like getting that thought out of your head, like, oh, the only way I can get a player to care about this thing is if I make him do it for 30 hours.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
So I really like that a lot.
I did get a little 8-bit, and I learned you say it 8-bit do. It's not 8-bit dough.
Oh, the little controller?
I did get a little controller that, so I'm playing on the Steam Deck. I can dock it to the TV. Sometimes I've been having some problems lately.
Sometimes with Wi-Fi?
Because I'm using a third-party dock, and for
Okay.
whatever reason, it's not always taking lately. But I had an Xbox controller hooked up to that.
Yeah.
And I like to play on the D-pad, but the Xbox D-pad is...
So bad.
I'm not a fan of it.
It's a clickier than ever.
And it just doesn't feel very good, so...
It's a little, like, sluggish.
I've seen some people using these. It's one of the small, it's not like that little micro one that I got you.
That one's so cute though.
But it is on the smaller side.
Okay. Does it hurt your hands?
It actually has no joysticks. It has two D-pads. And they're like, you can actually play like a first-person shooter with this, but you have D-pads instead of sticks. But it's perfect for this. And it's been really nice to play it with that, with something that feels a bit closer to an original controller.
Yeah, SNES controller, right? Yeah.
Right. So that's great. So yeah, I think I'll finish this game this week, and I think we'll probably record the spoiler cast next week and get it out maybe around the end of next week. So
there we go.
We have a lot of people in our community who are playing this game alongside us, and a lot of them are wrapping it up too. And we definitely want to hear from them as well as we put that spoiler cast together.
I'm excited to like hear what people thought and what endings they got and everything. Yeah.
One other game we played on stream last week and worth a mention here is Kirby Superstar.
What a pleasant surprise this game was.
Right. So again, I'm just outing myself as a fake video game fan here, because this is another game that I didn't play. And again, I don't know what happened. I was largely unaware of new Kirby games coming out. Yeah. Between Kirby's Adventure on the NES and like when I started working at Nintendo, I was like, I remember I was like, oh yeah,
DS,
Kirby.
Yeah. DS Kirby. Canvas Curse, maybe.
I think
not Canvas Curse.
Kirby Mass Attack was a game that came out I was like, oh, they've
Epic Yarn.
Oh, they've made, I think that one came out after that one.
Okay.
And I realized then, I was like, oh, they've made a lot of Kirby games since then. And it's not that I knew about them and opted not to play them.
Yeah.
I just wasn't hearing about these games.
Right. Maybe not maybe you weren't young enough anymore.
I don't know what it was.
But anyway,
whatever.
You missed this one. So did I.
Right. So we played it finally. And it's cool. It's one of these games that almost feels a little bit like a compilation. Because on the box, it's billed as like 8 games in one. I think it's 8. And this is on NSO, by the way.
Yes.
So you can totally play it. That's how we played it. And there are some kind of smaller, proper Kirby campaign experiences, which were very cool. Some different riffs on that. And then some things that are a bit more mini game-ish.
Yeah.
But it's a kind of a structure of a game that you don't really see much these days.
It kind of worked though, like really well, because I feel like Kirby levels, we were talking about this too, like some of those levels are really big.
Yes.
And because they're so big, you could reasonably shrink it down into this kind of more compact experience and still have it feel like, you know, like a pretty meaty game. Like we were like, yeah, it could have felt like when you see the tagline, like 8 games in one, you're like, oh gosh, is it going to be some little like junky Mario Party experience?
I think that's maybe one of the reasons why even after this came on NSO, I was like, is this like Kirby Mario Party or like Kirby Hodgepodge Edition?
Right,
like, what
but
is
it totally
this?
isn't, which I was really pleasantly surprised by. Like, and yes, these levels are like abbreviated, or these games are abbreviated, and you can get through, you know, one full quote like game in probably about 30 minutes or so.
Right.
But it didn't feel. It felt like substantial though. It felt like I was playing like a real Kirby game.
And we were playing a lot of the game we played together.
You can play the whole thing
co-op, which was really
amazing.
fun.
Yeah.
And you know, it definitely felt a little bit different from some of the modern Kirbys, and it had like really pretty in-depth movesets for all of the transformations that you had. So a lot of replay value there, I would say. So
I'm gonna play some more of that game actually.
a lot of people don't, you know, it's in fashion to clown on NSO, but that SNES library they have on there is pretty solid, and it's not everything. There's some gripes that I definitely have about it, but you can definitely do yourself a favor and find a game that you have not played before that is legit good on there.
We also played Joe and Mac on the.
Joe and Mac is a classic.
Yeah, we were setting up,
we
and
played,
we were like,
we played
let's
like
play
10
this
minutes
for
of Joe and Mac
for a little bit. But it's so fun.
Yeah.
I want to play more Joe and Mac.
We might play Joe and Mac sometime later. But that game is that is a classic. From instead of Kirby Superstar, I was playing Joe and Mac.
I know.
Caveman Ninjas.
Caveman Ninjas.
What a stupid name.
I love it. I love a caveman. That was like the age of like.
You threw a rock at a T-Rex and you knocked it out.
I did, yes.
And then a hot girl came out and kissed you.
Of course, everyone's getting kissed in the 90s.
Let's go 90s, yes.
Everyone's getting kissed. But yeah, the SNES, NSO, like it is better than you think it is.
It's good,
honestly.
yeah.
I'm gonna poke around there some more too. I had this realization when I was looking at some of those SNES games on NSO that when I was in my SNES era, I was in a very much I never bought that many games. I was
More
just renting games. So my collection for SNES games is not very big at all, and I also dabbled so much because you would just have the game for like a weekend or like a Friday night to Saturday morning kind of thing, that I have very like little memory of some of the games that I played. So now I want to go back and like play it some more, because I think that's what happened to me with some of these Kirby games, is that I probably rented Kirby games all the time but have no memory of them because I only played them for a few hours. Which is an interesting phenomenon for me to have, because now I want to definitely go deeper.
So I am interested in filling the gaps on my Kirby knowledge, and I mean there's a number of games to get through. People in our Discord were showing like, oh yeah, there was one that was kind of a Metroidvania. I think that was maybe one on GBA, and they were sharing this crazy map.
Yeah, there was like a map that was insane.
And they were saying it's maybe a bit too complex for its own good. But I was like, I might need to look into this.
Yeah, it was like a GBA game
that looks kind of neat, actually. Yeah. Who knew? Kirby. What do you know?
So deep.
Shocking. Not a game, but you have started watching the Fallout TV show, which seems to have rave reviews.
Yeah.
And acclaim from pretty much everybody.
And did you see that the Steam play of Fallout 76 jumped exponentially because of the TV show? It was insane.
Is that the right game?
I don't know. I didn't play that game.
So what Fallout games have you played?
I have not played a lot of Fallout games at all. Maybe the first one for a little bit.
Well, the first one meaning on what platform?
PC, I believe.
Like the original Fallout.
Original Fallout.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But not for a very long time.
Not the Bethesda Fallout.
No.
You've never played any of those?
This is really, don't come at me, people, seriously. I've only played that first Fallout game, and then I played Fallout Shelter on my phone.
Oh, Fallout 3 is good. You might want to check that out.
Yeah?
Fallout 4 I did not play, but that was one. I think that was there was Fallout New Vegas too.
New Vegas.
I think Fallout 4 was peak Bethesda jank. So I was like,
Fallout 3 though. What
I was on Xbox 360.
No, I did not.
That was after Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and I believe before
I was playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Before Skyrim. I think it was sandwiched in between those.
That's why I missed it.
If I'm right.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. I feel like a lot of people don't know about those first couple PC games.
I love the PC games.
Those are really cool and really unique.
Yeah.
Kind of like the old original Baldur's Gate, very like
exactly.
Make your path based on the skill, build your character.
Yes.
A lot of flexibility. That's cool.
Exactly. That's why I like them. So yeah, my Fallout fandom and knowledge is very limited.
Okay.
I know a little bit about, obviously it's not that complex to glean the storyline, but I know, some of a little bit about some of the characters. So I went into this pretty blind, pretty newbie,
Yeah.
And I love it. It is such a good show. I was worried because I feel like when you get to you got to make a critically acclaimed show about this very serious event, it becomes kind of a Last of Us situation.
Sure.
Where it's scary and sad and dark.
Depressing.
And I feel like a broken human afterwards. This is not that. So that's great for me because that was my only holdout. I was like, is this going to make me really, really sad?
Yeah.
But no, the Fallout games have some humor in them.
Totally.
They're a little bit more wacky in general. They do keep that aspect in the show, which I love. It does a really good job. Even if you have no prior knowledge of any Fallout, anything, it does a really good job of setting up the story, what happened. They do a time jump, and then you start to meet some of the characters that are in the different, locations or groups within the world. So you meet, somebody that's a vault dweller. You meet someone that's from the Brotherhood of Steel. You meet somebody that, was in a lab. So you get to kind of see okay, what is the world now? And then of course characters start converging and story progresses.
So there's not a single location for it?
No, it's very vast.
Oh, wow.
Because you start out and you think, everything's going to happen in these vaults or something like that. But no, you go out into the surface and you go to the wasteland and you go to, a lot of different places. Now this group where I'm at, I'm not finished yet, but this group is sort of journeying to a new location. Feels very vast. It looks amazing. It looks really cool the way that they did it. It takes place it's supposed to be a ruined Los Angeles.
Okay.
So, yeah. The characters are great. There's some big names in the show as well. So you guys will recognize these actors, obviously. But yeah, it's really good. It's funny. It's very violent is the other thing. It's
that sounds like Fallout.
It's very Fallout. People are just blood bags.
Yeah.
It's just water balloons. But I do close my eyes a lot because there's needles involved and everything like that.
Gosh.
And there's there's people getting limbs cut off and things like that. That's very oh my gosh, it's a little much. I mean, I know it's very cartoony violence. So it's almost supposed to be a little bit Evil Dead, that kind of humorous violence, but I still get a little queasy from it. So if you are not into that, just be aware that happens in the show. There's a really cute dog. It's not dog meat. It's a different dog. But I really like that dog. I really want that dog to be okay. I did look up if the dog dies, and it does not, so...
Good?
Yes.
Good to know.
So good. Are you going to watch it? Come on!
Probably not.
Why?
I don't know.
Why? I don't
know.
understand why.
Yeah, I mean, by all accounts, people love this show.
You should watch it.
It's kind of been a surprise hit so far, so I'm happy for that. This is on Amazon, is that right?
It is, Amazon.
I think Amazon is I think they're the ones who are doing the God of War show.
Oh.
That's been announced for years now. I wonder when they're going to get going with that, but maybe that bodes well. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, different people, obviously.
Very good.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Love to see that. Cool. Let's move on to the news. We have a trio of Nintendo stories to get us started.
Oh.
Some stranger than others. Let's start with the weirdest one.
Okay.
John Cena, remember him?
Oh, yeah.
You know the name, but you can't see him.
Nope.
Still don't know why. He had a viral Instagram post where he simply posted little 8-bit pixel link and nothing else. And this has
To
over
20.8 million followers. Woof.
Yeah, yes. This got people talking.
Yeah.
What's John got cooking? Oh, I just did a wrestling faux pas because it's what's The Rock's got something cooking, I
What
think.
has John got?
He's not cooking anything because
But
you can't see him.
Okay.
I just did a faux pas for wrestling, sorry. But people are wondering, is John
this
Cena
means.
in the Zelda movie? What could this mean, Krysta?
He's Tingle.
We need to know. What?
He is Tingle in the Zelda movie. That's probably the most logical explanation.
That he's in
of
the
it.
movie?
Yeah.
I mean, if he is in the movie, if he just got cast in the movie and he did this, somebody's not going to be happy with that.
No, but this is what happens when you start to make a movie and you start to have a cast.
I mean, or do you think it's just a bit of wishful thinking on his part of like, boy, it'd be cool if I was in the Zelda movie. Let's get some people talking about it and then just do this.
Maybe. I think if he was wishful thinking about it, he would probably have posted it with a caption. Wouldn't it be cool if I was in the Zelda movie? So that it really drives the point home.
Maybe he's
this
trying
kind
to
of like teasery little
speak
tweet.
it into existence, manifestation,
Well, then you
sort of thing.
You better write that down then, Johnny.
Maybe that's in his private journal
I see.
under lock and key.
He's like folding up the paper and like burning it in the
Exactly,
candle and then putting it under the candle. I don't know. I feel like this kind of very, very much meant to be a teaser post.
But for what?
TBD. Teasing something. Clearly he's teasing something.
I mean, we did the whole episode on John Cena a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
Check it out if you missed it. Remember there was that whole time where he came to visit Redmond, and there's that picture of him with Reggie and Doug Bowser.
Yes.
And who knows what the heck they were meeting about.
I mean, he's a huge Nintendo fan.
He's extremely legit.
Noted, and
Right.
he was very interested in doing more things with Nintendo beyond the promotional marketing stuff. He was really interested in doing more things, whether it's game related or just bigger projects with Nintendo. That he was truly like wanting to do that. So I can see him being very much, whether he's interested or he's been talking to people about the Zelda movie or some other sort of bigger partnership with Nintendo, like I can see it.
Is there a character that he would be perfect to play?
He's very buff.
Should he be? Oh.
What about...
thanks for confirming that.
What about
I
that
wasn't
guy
sure.
that's in...
Groose? I've seen some people making the Groose connection.
Now I gotta look it up. Vamp while I look this up. This is Taro?
Well, I've seen literally a side-by-side of a picture of Groose and a picture of John Cena, and a lot of it boils down to the hair, but I was very convinced. Groose is pretty beefy himself,
Groose is pretty
What are you
beefy.
looking for right now?
I'm looking for that one character in Tears of the Kingdom. I think it's Tauro.
Oh, yeah. I remember who you're talking about now. Yeah.
What does he look like? He's the guy that...
There we go,
yes.
yeah.
See, that's so John Cena. Look at this.
Okay, yeah.
Look at
that. That character definitely has a John Cena
This
build.
is the research assistant to Pura.
Sure.
In the Kakariko Village area, researching that like big...
Oh my goodness.
That big loop.
What?
Hey you! Toon Taro.
Okay, well that's a good connection by you to make that connection.
You see?
I guess Taro just lingering in your mind for reasons.
I think about Taro a lot.
Well, we'll never know about John Cena, and probably this is going to amount to nothing, but it's fun to think about it.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that would be great. That's fan casting for that. Perfect.
On to less made-up news. Nintendo's licensing team has a big new hire. His name is Gio Corsi. He spent a long time at PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a couple years since he left, and I think he was doing, some stuff here and there. But now he's landed. He had a tweet where he says, "I've joined the Nintendo AAA third-party portfolio management crew." He's got 2 spaces in between management and crew, unfortunately. "To help great teams bring their amazing games to this legendary platform." So, yeah, they do have a bit of a distinction on that team of, quote, AAA versus indie.
Yep.
What about all the stuff in between, you might ask? Don't worry about it.
They don't exist.
But, yeah, I mean, it can't hurt. This gives, they've got a really good team that they have over there now.
They do, yeah.
Because you have Steve Singer, who is, the longtime head of that team, and he's part of, the executive team at Nintendo of America, so he's tied up in all sorts of things. And it's great that, licensing has a voice in those sort of leadership conversations. And then you've got John Vignacchi, who's another longtime industry vet, who is probably the heir apparent to Steve Singer.
Yeah.
At some point.
At some point.
Also notorious for having the strongest...
bone-crushing handshake.
The most bone-crushing handshake in the industry.
Nicest guy.
If you meet John Vignacchi, do not shake his hand.
Just be aware. Or wear a metal glove.
Wear a gauntlet.
A gauntlet.
A knight's gauntlet.
Yes.
Bring that to
Bring
the
that
handshaking
to shake hands with John
experience,
Vignacchi.
because your hand will not survive it otherwise. And now we have Gio Corsi here. So obviously there's there's a lot of other people on that team, but they have a lot of experience and a lot of good connections. So that's a good get, as they say.
It is, yeah. And I'm sure, licensing and third party, everything is going to be so important in the coming few months leading up to Switch 2. So getting Gio on board nice and early before that happens, so they can start to do them deals, as they say.
Right.
Will be great for hopefully the software lineup for the new console.
Yeah. I also want to give Gio a shout out for having a very strong beard. That's looking good.
Oh yeah, and the hats are very
Keep
cute.
it up, fella.
With his dad, oh my god, adorable.
Lastly, in our trio of Nintendo news, this one is fresh today. Nintendo is skipping Gamescom. That is obviously the big show in Germany happening in late August. They have put out a statement, because people were starting to sniff this out. The statement reads, Gamescom is a central event for Nintendo in the event calendar. However, this year, after careful consideration, we have decided against participating in Cologne. Players can try out the games for Nintendo Switch instead as a part of other German-wide events.
Germany-wide.
Germany-wide events, yes.
You can find Nintendo at Oktoberfest.
So it's a central event, but we shan't be going. but we won't be there. So what does this mean? How hard should I slam on the panic button right now?
I mean, I kind of saw it coming that the back half of this year might be a little might be a little...
Tricksy?
Not tricksy, but just a little slower.
Well, Krysta.
Wow.
Last year, by all accounts, they were doing these behind closed doors meetings with the Switch 2.
Oh, yeah.
That seems like even if, you should meet with these people, right? Why wouldn't you do that?
Maybe they're still doing the behind closed doors in other ways.
I don't think you need to be officially registered as an exhibitor to be doing meetings.
Right, exactly.
So I do imagine
those meetings are still probably
they will
happening.
still have people there and will still be doing that. But as far as having a booth or a stand, as they call it.
Oh, a stand.
In Europe.
A lemonade stand.
It is interesting because a lot of times, even if they have nothing, I could see them having a booth that's just Princess Peach and everybody 1-2 switch and being yeah, this is awesome.
Just having some presence just gives people the feeling that you're, we were talking about this in last week's podcast. It's you have some work. Nintendo has to work a little harder to maintain relevancy.
Right. And
going to these events does help to do that. Yeah. But it also is one of those things where you don't got nothing. I
think this is also a continuation of the shakeout of not having E3, because when Nintendo used to do Gamescom, the games that they had there were the E3 builds.
Demos. Yeah.
If there's no E3, those builds aren't getting made, so you have actually nothing new to show.
And asking a development team to make you a build is a really
those
big
are a
ask.
lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
You don't just snap your fingers and
say
have that pop up.
There's the build, yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
It does feel like there's a bit of a knock-on effect of not having an E3.
And I think this is going to play out into some other events, like PAX West is around this time. So that might have a bit of a effect as well.
I would be shocked if they were not there, though.
They're definitely going to be at PAX West. They might do the Nintendo Live thing again.
It is about a week later. Oh yeah, Nintendo Live. We have not heard much about that since the Japan one got canceled.
Yeah. Or maybe that becomes a more global thing, and they do Nintendo Live in Germany or in Europe instead of participating in Gamescom, that could be another reason why.
When did they? I need to go back and see when they announced the Seattle Nintendo Live. It was a pretty long.
It was late. Yeah. Oh, was it not? Oh no, it was the summertime.
I think they had a pretty good stretch of time.
They had it in the June Direct, I believe.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think people, Gamescom is a huge event, and a ton of people go, and it is like the big European event. But I always got the feeling that Nintendo didn't see it as this major global event. Like that's why they're making this equivalent to Germany-wide events. So like it's just another event in Germany.
Yeah, it's very like localized to that region.
Totally.
That's why I think that's why I bring up Nintendo Live, because that is what they consider to be their owned global event.
Yeah.
They do it in Japan, they did it in the US last year, maybe they're adding Europe this year, and that becomes a thing, So, we'll see.
Still haven't done a Nintendo Live in Europe. We still don't have a Nintendo store in Europe. We do not have a Nintendo theme park in Europe. Justice for Europe, please.
That's so mean. They do have really cool special editions. CEs, as they say. Collector's edition.
All right.
They have the Paper Mario diorama.
For the new one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Only
really?
Europe.
Oh. Well, I'm sure they made about 5 of those, so I don't think I'm going to cry myself to bed over that. All right, that's enough of this Nintendo stuff. Some other stories. A new Prince of Persia game got announced.
I saw this, and I was like, another one?
This was kind of easy to miss. So this was part of this Triple I event.
Right.
Which I had not heard of this before this year.
Yeah.
I think it's like, instead of Triple A, this is like Triple Indie, like big indies. So this is a new Prince of Persia game, but it is done by the developers of Dead Cells. And it does have this kind of roguelite gameplay loop where you kind of power up and play the same sequences again and again and amass more stuff. And did you play Dead Cells?
Yes.
I love Dead Cells.
Great
Dead Cells
game.
is super good. And this is a pretty interesting mashup of developer and IP. The little bits of gameplay that they had, I thought looked really good.
It looked really cool, yeah.
And
different style as well, different art style.
I liked how you could do wall running, but in a 2D game. Normally that's in like a first person, like you think like Titanfall or something.
Yes.
But that looked great. The visual style, I thought, looked pretty distinctive. This game is coming to PC early access March 14th, so really soon. Yeah. And I don't believe they have announced proper platforms for anything beyond that. They seem pretty focused on doing the early access release, and then more to come probably on that. It did seem like kind of a low-profile way to get this, what could be a pretty big game, out there.
Yeah, it's interesting what's going on with Prince of Persia, because I think The Lost Crown had some heat behind it, and then it fell off pretty fast. And I think that, it went through the whole Ubisoft loop of getting these steep discounts very early in its release. And it just seemed like that game didn't really have a lot of staying power. I can see that they're trying to do a thing to like keep this franchise relevant. I think it's super cool that they're working with the Dead Cell devs to like take this in a different direction. That's a really smart way of, trying to get the IP in front of other kinds of players and audiences. But yeah, it's like they're trying to do something, but it doesn't seem to be like catching on quite yet. So it's like, give them an A for effort, but let's see what happens.
So it's April now. This is coming out May 14th, early access. Ubisoft has already announced their sort of E3-ish event in that June timeframe. Yes. So maybe we will get more updates on like other platforms. Yeah. I don't think they've said how long this early access period is going to be though, so we shall see. Yeah. Speaking of Ubisoft, they put out a big story trailer for Star Wars Outlaws and revealed the release dates coming August 30th or August 27th if you buy one of the 2 special editions or subscribe to Ubisoft Plus those special editions will set you back either $110
Pricey.
or $130. The game takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which is a cool time frame to be exploring. And this is about more like the grimy crime underbelly, scoundrels, Star Wars scoundrels, smugglers.
That's what they call it, outlaws.
The Kessel Run parsecs.
Is it like Andor?
No.
Oh.
Did you see the Han Solo movie?
No. Wait, no.
No. Young Han Solo? Did you see that?
No.
No. That was not an all-time classic, but I think it's worth a watch. That movie does much more explore that, and it did introduce a lot of characters, and I think there's some characters that were specifically in the Han Solo movie that they are going to be returning to here that I've seen people being pretty excited about. So, I've definitely got my eye on this game, but it seemed like the feedback on this was not good for Ubisoft.
People seemed mad.
People seemed upset by this.
Someone was like, here's a hot take, don't buy this game. You're so mad, you know? A lot of complaints.
So let's break down.
Why are you mad?
Let's break down why people are mad. Why are we mad? So this thing about getting the game early, if you buy one of these pretty expensive special editions, that's not great.
It's only 3 days early.
3 days, but still, it is a lot of money. It is, I mean, you obviously get other things if you get the special edition. Something else I saw people not mad about is in the Battle Pass or whatever they're calling, you know, what's in the special editions, there is a Jabba the Hutt mission that is not in the base game.
Okay.
That is in only the DLC or Battle Pass or again, whatever they're calling it.
Okay.
So I can understand that's like, come on, that's cool. Jabba the Hutt, that's iconic. Just put that in the main game.
Yeah.
Don't
try to nickel and dime people on this, yeah.
I mean, I think that's really what people are feeling is like, yes, this was probably a very expensive game to make.
Yeah.
And clearly Ubisoft is trying to wring every red cent out of the people who might buy it.
Oh my.
Is kind of the feeling. And it's not the first time we've seen companies do this.
Right.
But, and there's just, you know, a lot of ongoing, you know, not great feelings about Ubisoft these days. And frankly, Ubisoft's kind of slowed down their releases.
There isn't their volume is a lot lower than before.
Like a few years ago, it felt like Ubisoft had a big game like every couple months, and they've really slowed down.
Yeah, probably because these games have taken so much longer and so many more resources to make.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it'll be really interesting to see, again, like you were saying with Prince of Persia, like Ubisoft games go on sale so quickly.
Right.
Like, what are they going to do with
this? If
this is truly like, oh, we're in a new age of Ubisoft.
This is a premium game.
These games cost so much. Like, we have to recoup our money on this. Is it going to be $30 in a month?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You do kind of get yourself into a weird spot there because, and ironically, we were talking about this with Nintendo games last week, how they don't do price drops because it hurts the value.
Yeah.
And if they are trying to get you on board with this is a premium experience, a premium AAA experience that you should be so happy to pay this amount for this prestige gaming experience, and then to go and discount it to whatever, to drop it by 40, 30% 2 months after it releases, I think that's going to really piss people off. If they're mad now, they're going to be mad in 2 months.
I'm pretty interested specifically on that point to see what they do because that does seem to be their strategy.
Right.
And it must work for them somehow if they keep doing it.
But they shouldn't do it though, maybe.
But they've really trained the consumer to just wait.
Exactly.
So it's like, what is the cycle that is happening here?
Right.
And is this actually good for you?
And are you trying to retrain?
Right. So this might be a point, this seems like a good game to try to, quote, retrain people
on, yeah.
But then again, like, you're just going to be shooting yourself in the foot because everybody decided to wait for the sale that never came, and then nobody bought the game,
right?
And then it's a bomb,
and then the game,
and then you blame somebody gets blamed and somebody gets laid off, and
you know, like these days how quickly people move on too. So if you can't capture the audience like right at in that first bit of launch excitement, it's so hard to get them back too. So. Yeah, I feel like they put themselves in a really tough spot here, and it could be a really dicey launch for this game.
So this game, it definitely is like high rolling. You know, the prices for all of this are definitely like eye popping. I am interested in this game though.
I was going to ask you if you're going to play it.
I would like to see more of the gameplay. Like that first trailer they had last year was very gameplay heavy. This was more story focused. I'm sure at that event they'll have a big emphasis on this.
Yeah.
I do just want to see like what are you doing in this game. You know, I'm a sucker for anything Star Wars, and this is an interesting kind of lane for it to be in that we haven't seen a lot of in other games. So I'm definitely interested.
Yeah, you're a huge Star Wars fan,
I am.
so I'm assuming that you're all over this. You're not getting the $130 special edition to play the game 3 days early?
No.
And get your Jabba the Hutt mission?
The thing, I mean, those DLCs that come out later, like so often I've moved on to another game, and it's like, it's hard to go back.
Yeah.
Like no matter how cool the DLC seems.
DLC is one of those things where it's like, I can't.
So again, I mean, that's why they want you to buy it up front.
I know.
It's like, don't.
I get it.
You're excited now, give us all the money.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah.
You've moved on and you've forgotten.
That's a sound strategy too, though. That does, I mean, people go for that, you know, so.
Yeah. So that is all the news we've got for this week. That was a wacky lineup of news.
Weird
wouldn't you say?
news segment, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah. Let's move ahead to questions from our community. And as with every week, we get all of our questions from our Patreon family. Check us out at patreon.com/KitandKrysta. We mentioned the spoiler cast that we have coming up.
Oh, yeah.
We also have a weekly bonus Q&A.
Behind the scenes.
Where we go deep on more questions. We do a behind the scenes that have been running about 20, 30 minutes every week of us just checking in, showing off some goofy stuff, hanging out. So much good stuff. Again, give it a look, patreon.com/KitandKrysta. First question today is from Cerulean Dragon. Hey, you too. Do you believe in the Xbox tax? This is the idea that review outlets give games exclusive to Xbox worse scores than similar games on competitor platforms. To be clear, I don't think this decree comes from management. I think that if it does exist, it's from internal biases of internal reporters and how they personally view each platform. Similarly, I think the same can apply to Nintendo, specifically by giving them a pass on performance. I think there's a bias out there of if it's on Switch, of course it'll drop frames that they just give a pass to, especially when coupled with the power of a well-known IP. Do you see this out there, or am I just imagining it?
I see this out there. I definitely see this out there.
Which part, or
Both parts.
or all of it?
Both parts. I think it's impossible not for a human to have a bias. I think that just comes with, you know, how these reviews are from people like you and I that have certain preferences to platforms. They have, you know, you have all this learned bias from which platform you grew up with and your feelings about certain things that even if you try to keep that out of journalism, I think it finds a way to sneak back in. And I do feel like there's people that do this on purpose. Like they just kind of give scores that are lower or higher based on the platform of choice.
The Nintendo part, I mean, yes, it is a lower powered platform. Mm-hmm. So you can't apply the same. It's like, well, the Breath of the Wild didn't run at 4K. So it's like, well, the machine is technically not capable of doing that.
Right.
So you kind of have to stay within, you know, what it is. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at the same time, we've seen, you know, a lot of games, like specifically Pokemon Scarlet Violet, they really did get dinged on the performance, and like big outlets like IGN have continued to bang that drum. So I do think it's different for the Nintendo platforms because, again, they're capabilities-wise, they are very different. Mm-hmm. But I think you do see more and more people maybe speaking up about it than maybe you did in the past. The Xbox thing, I don't know. Do people have any... I hear this term being brought up. I'm a bit skeptical of this.
I just feel like people have these biases where if it's a game that's exclusive, they feel like already this like sort of like, oh man, like, you know, this is not fair that it's exclusive. I don't know. I just feel like people do have
games are exclusive on a lot of platforms.
These biases do exist. The other thing about the Nintendo reviews, though, I do think that, I don't know, I don't know if this, I'm imagining this, but I feel like reviewers are a little bit easier on Nintendo than they should be sometimes. I do feel like that.
So
there's a lot to do with your childhood nostalgia.
So something I did want to bring up around this question is, I do think there are some series that get maybe rated a bit more favorably than they have often deserved to be. And I think this was really rampant around like the early 2000s. Like, so series like Metal Gear, Final Fantasy, Zelda, there are probably others, like some of those, a lot of times those were just default 10, just perfect.
Yeah.
And I think of like Zelda Twilight Princess, like the Metacritic score for that's like 95 or 6 or something. And I remember Jeff Gersman at the time, who was at GameSpot, he gave that, I think, an 88. And people were like clutching their pearls, like, oh my goodness, the greatness of Twilight Princess. I'd argue that game's not even an 88. You know? And I do think that is not the case today, but there definitely was a time where some franchises were a little bit untouchable from an editorial standpoint of like
a little bit.
Either the objectivity was clouded or these things were just held up in such high esteem of like, this is the best the video game industry has to offer.
Yeah.
Halo often got lumped into that too. Yeah. Like there was a handful of franchises that felt pretty untouchable.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you played the game, you're like, I don't know if this is a 10.
Like, imagine, though, the environment you're doing this in. It's really hard. Like, you have to be the person that's, like, giving your honest thoughts about something, and you know you're going to get, like, 5 million death threats, and people are going to threaten to, like, burn your house down and kill your family.
Right.
All for this video game. Like, I'm sorry, but if
everything's a 10.
if that's the choice I have to make, and just giving them or else being more lenient on the game, I'm going to be more lenient on the game. This is why I'm not a game reviewer.
But this says the Xbox tax is dropping the scores.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, so again, going back to IGN, like they have dedicated Xbox editors.
That's true. Yeah.
So you would think in those cases, those people are maybe inclined to be a bit more favorable if it's like, this is my beat, this is what I do, this is what I cover. And I also have a relationship to manage in some sense as well. Like I don't,
Yeah, that's true. Like in some of those bigger outlets, maybe it's better. But I do see that though. I do see like Xbox exclusives having a way harder time always than like a Nintendo exclusive.
Or maybe they're just not up to snuff in some cases.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't play enough to know whether or not it is or isn't, but it does feel different. Like it feels like when people are reviewing a Nintendo exclusive, it's very favorable all the time, and people are holding different things to different standards, it seems.
I'm a bit more skeptical of the first part of this, but if people have like, oh, these are the examples of this, I would like to know.
Okay.
Yeah. Jason Ball 34 asks, Super Smash Bros. 64 was released on Wii's Virtual Console back in 2009, but never came to Wii U's Virtual Console or Switch's NSO service. From what you know of Mr. Sakurai and Nintendo at large, would you guess that this is a Sakurai decision or a Nintendo decision to no longer re-release this game? Either way, what changed after the Wii that made them change their strategy?
I feel like for Smash games nowadays, it's really like trying to get people to be playing the most recent version. Like that is always the goal. And even when we were doing stuff around, launching the next Smash game, and we would think about ways to like do things with the existing Smash community, the method or like the goal was always to move them off of those older Smash games.
Right.
And move them into the newest Smash game as the definitive thing that you should be playing. So yeah, I don't think that there's interest in like making those games accessible because he wants you to play Ultimate. So
yeah, it's a bit of a bummer in this case because I really like Smash 64.
Right,
and that's probably the Smash that I played the most. And I would love to play that again. But yeah, I agree. Like there are so many factions in the Smash community that are all very vocal about having their favorite that they want the community to rally around or to be available at such and such tournament, that this is kind of their way of just putting the pillow over its head of like, well, this is the only one that's out there, so it's the only one that you can play, so let's just do that and never speak of these other things. I would love to get it to a point where we could have this all available and coexist like that, but I don't know.
I don't think that's going to happen. As long as there is the definitive recent Smash game that is in, Nintendo's ecosystem, these older games are just not going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question is from, Morta Crabzillimer. There we go. Hi, Kit and Krysta. Hope you are well. You guys mentioned 3DS video a couple weeks back. This unlocked a memory of Dinosaur Office. Roar! Can you share the origins of this series? Was the series created in-house, or did Nintendo work with an independent production studio? Did said studio or in-house team work on any other projects besides Dinosaur Office that is of note? Thank you.
Dinosaur Office.
So
is that a Hollywood Sound production?
I think Hollywood Sun was involved.
Yeah.
That was one that they worked with an outside
Yes.
company to help create and produce. There was, though, one that was done internally, and I forget the name of it, but it had kind of like a Visitors from Outer Space kind of feel to it. And there were people, this was before the Content Lab existed as a team.
Right.
But it was kind of the team that was focused on video within the Treehouse, plus Hollywood Sans team, and I think they were just like, let's just try this. We'll have some of our own people in it. Again, I'm blanking on the name, but these are probably continuing to live on in YouTube.
Yeah.
Like all of this stuff, they were a little bit hokey, but I give them credit for trying something and checking it out. There were also some videos, I think, using clips from Wind Waker to kind of piece, it was kind of like a machinima kind of idea of like, we're going to piece together this fake adventure that Link is having using clips.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, using clips from, what is that? No, that's not it. So yeah, there were a lot of attempts to just find something that people would cling onto and want to watch. There was another one that was more of like a straight comedy show that it wasn't like 3Diots? Was that it? Put that in there. THREEIDIOTS, 3DS. 3Diots, that I remember we announced at some E3 show.
Oh, yeah.
3Diots.
No,
3Diots. Now type 3DS. This is great as I dictate a Google search to you.
I see.
So let's see what comes up here. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, this one.
Nintendo Video Comedy Series.
Nintendo Video.
So yeah, there's a lot of examples of that. I wonder there's probably somewhere online that has compiled everything that was
the
on
Lost Media
Nintendo
Wiki
Video.
Is where this is at.
Yeah, that was a very interesting / strange service.
3DS video.
That we had.
Yeah.
2012 to 2014, 3Diots.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it was the time when they just needed content.
Right.
I think because they had like promised all this entertainment, this device that can do all these things, but there was no original content at all.
Right.
So yeah, I do remember some of this, and I remember that was like a big lift for the team at the time, and then
it was a struggle for that
team. Yeah, it really was.
Like, we were just grasping to find enough 3D content to fill this service and keep it going.
Yeah, it was really tough.
And when they got something like a big music video, or when they funded something like this, they tried to make a big deal out of it, but I'm not sure.
It wasn't really worth it.
Yeah.
And I don't think the viewership was very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was tough.
Okay. Paul Gale is next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. What Nintendo IP that did not show up with a new release on Nintendo Switch would you like most to see on its successor? Do a barrel roll, Paul says.
Okay, so Paul wants a Star Fox.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong is what I want. There's no
new Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
But we got the funky edition.
We did. We got the Tropical Freeze Funky Kong DLC.
We got Mario versus Donkey Kong.
I want new.
We got a 3-minute demo of that game.
I want a new Donkey Kong.
All new.
New Donkey Kong.
Okay.
That would be great.
Man, that's crazy. They went a whole generation without a new
Donkey Kong.
We better get on that.
Yeah.
I have much more humble wishes than you.
Like?
I just want a new Pushmo.
Oh, you want the Pushmo?
I just want more Pushmo is what I want, please.
You want a Mallow?
Yes. I mean, they were so hot and heavy on that series on the Wii U and the 3DS. Like, they put out a bunch of those. I think there were at least 3 of those on both of those platforms, and then they just stopped.
Why though?
It was so fun.
It was fun. I miss Pushmo.
I mean, some of those, they were really playing up the 3D aspect of like pull the thing and you can see the
little like
stepping
depths
stone
or whatever.
And that was cool, but you didn't have to have that.
You didn't. You really didn't.
You could make levels. You could share levels.
Oh.
That character was so cute.
Mallow was very cute.
Please, I'm begging you, bring that back. Jeez.
Please, for the love of Pushmo.
Next up, we have Stephen Chaney. Your time at Nintendo overlapped with that of Nintendo Power by a bit. Did you read Nintendo Power before joining Nintendo? Nintendo Minute started when Nintendo Power ended, so was it ever viewed as a successor to Nintendo Power? What happened to the Nintendo Power writers when it ended? Obviously, Chris Slate stayed at Nintendo. Was there as much PR control in Nintendo Power as there was with Nintendo Minute, or did a sense of journalistic objectivity supersede that? Nintendo Power was so early. Is Nintendo considered among the pioneers of games journalism? Do you know if they secretly used emulators to get those stage maps back in the day? That's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
Let's see what we can do
Power.
Here. And you're just silent.
Oh, sorry. I was reading the first part of the question.
I will jump in.
The overlapping. Did we read Nintendo Power? Of course we read Nintendo Power.
Yes, we have a whole video from maybe a year or two ago of us going through classic issues, so please look that up, Stephen. But so the way that we worked with Nintendo Power, that team used to be like Nintendo employees in the Redmond office.
Yes. Then,
at a certain point, they majorly changed that up and said, we are going to license the Nintendo Power name to Future, who did PSM, PlayStation Magazine.
Right. So like a journalistic organization.
XM, the official Xbox magazine, that group that just made all sorts of magazines, they took over the mantle of Nintendo Power.
Right.
And that went on for a couple years until they shut the whole thing down.
Right.
And that era definitely felt a little different than when it was done in-house. But there was a person whose job was basically to be the liaison between Nintendo Power and Nintendo.
She was in the New York office,
She was in the New York office. And I always felt bad for her because she was often in the position of saying no to them because Nintendo Power got taken for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a little bit.
They would ask for things like exclusives or, cover stories, features, access to developers, the normal things a news outlet would ask for. And Nintendo internal would oftentimes say, no, we'd rather give this to IGN. No, we'd rather give this to another news outlet instead of Nintendo Power, which was a little bit sad.
And this would really frustrate them because they would say like, well, we are the official magazine of Nintendo fans. So what better outlet do you have to rally your most ardent supporters?
Right.
So I wouldn't always disagree with them when they would get upset or bang the drum of like, oh, we should have gotten this. But a lot of times the powers that be didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So that was a bummer.
I think it did have a sense of journalistic objectivity when it was under Future.
Yeah.
However, it is a Nintendo fan magazine, so of course they're going to be, looking at Nintendo content through a very positive lens.
Nintendo did review the pages.
We did review the pages,
but there was never a situation where it's like, you need to bump this review score up.
Right. Nothing
it was kind of more for like factual accuracy.
Right.
But there was no other outlet that, obviously in America, we got to do that. In Japan, that's much more common.
Yeah, when you do the editorial review, like you don't do that.
Right. What happened to the writers? So Chris Slate came over. Obviously, he became our neighbor. A lot of people now work for Pokemon Company.
They do.
They have moved up to Seattle, and now they work at the Pokemon Company. So that's great. Other people have kind of dispersed into other kind of editorial roles. But yeah, they had a really good team at the time.
Yeah.
Did they use emulators to get those stage maps? No, my understanding is like they really like played those games and like they had these setups to like take a picture and then make that into the magazine and piece those together when they would do those
like
big
layouts and stuff.
Multi-part layouts. And I know our buddy Frank Cifaldi has now a little side project where he's like, I'm trying to perfectly match the methods that Nintendo Power used to photograph games on a CRT to look like they did, because there's nothing that looks exactly like that.
That's a very specific style that they had. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I still have Nintendo Power. I still have a lot of those issues. Thank goodness I got those back.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
That was a scary time when you didn't have them. And I would say the spiritual successor to Nintendo Power was not Nintendo Minute, but the Nintendo Power podcast, which also no longer exists. But that was really the spiritual successor to Nintendo Power.
And also not affiliated with Nintendo, but Nintendo Force magazine is really trying to, in some ways, recreate the experience of reading Nintendo Power.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job, obviously, of that.
Yeah. But there were often a lot of people like, oh, we should bring this back. A lot of people understood the value of the name of Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
Within the company.
I think so.
Yeah. Last question is from Tales of Link. What's up, Kit and Krysta? Do you think Nintendo may consider porting over Nintendo 3DS games to the Switch 2? If so, I'd love to see Project X Zone games make a comeback on it. So,
like an NSO Nintendo 3DS kind of thing?
So do you remember on Wii U, you could get DS games on the Wii U and play them because you could do the bottom screen on the gamepad.
Oh, I see, yeah. Okay.
So we have this challenge now of what do we do with all these dual screen games?
Yeah.
Where you needed to do an interaction with those.
Right.
That is honestly not really possible on a Switch.
Right.
But what are they going to do with those?
I know, right?
Because these are great games. It's a huge library.
Yeah.
That as more time passes, people are going to get really frothed up over wanting to play.
And how difficult is it to remap that into a single screen experience? Probably challenging. It feels like it would be challenging. It feels like it wouldn't be as simple.
I don't know, but I mean, some of the fan theories about the Switch 2 of like, oh, this wireless dock or something where you can still have that and the TV mode. If it's beaming something to the dock and you can still hold that in your hand.
God, I can just imagine the lag.
No, there would not be any lag at all. They would get that right. There was no lag on the Wii U.
I don't know.
The Wii U was quite good at that.
Okay. We'll
see. I do think it's an interesting
challenge
thing for them to try and solve.
Phones, maybe something with your phone and the Switch.
For so long, you can only just like hand wave away this huge part of your existence.
Exactly. And that's lucrative. Like so many people would pay again for that.
Like me.
I would too.
I'm the sucker.
Maybe phone.
The phone?
I don't know.
No.
It's hard.
No.
Yeah, it's very hard. We'll see. But I think this is a very lucrative thing that they're probably thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, there probably will be more and more 3DS games that get remade.
But
you can't do that for everything.
You can't do a straight port, though, and you can't remake everything.
I would love some sort of NSO tier. It's like, we found a way, and these are just the original games, and you can experience on the TV, and we found some
way to control the bottom
Some
screen.
wacky way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love that. All right.
It's time for the wonderful shout-outs.
It is indeed time.
Here we go with our final boss, the one and only, da-da-da-da, Aaron Hash.
The hallowed ground next to the Paper Mario copy.
Very hallowed.
Very nice.
Very hallowed. And then here we go with the superstars. Ben Eichhorn.
MaruMayhem.
Eigenverse.
KissMyFlapjack.
Mike Chin.
Roy Eschke.
Switching it up, _
vgmlife.
Link, the hero of wits.
Angela Bycroft and her pig Molly.
Thomas O'Rourke.
Kyle LeBoeuf.
Roberto Nieves.
Fredrik Wolf Konradsson.
Andrew Youhas.
Chili.
Brustache.
And Simon.
Boop, boop, boop. All right. And then our wonderful One-Up Club graduation service. Here we go. Aaron Burgundy.
Alejandro.
Archimedes.
Astro Dev.
Awesome 46.
Bad Moon Horizon.
Benji B.
Bookem Dano.
Bookishly Fab.
Brad SF56.
Random Cavapil.
Brooke Obscura.
Brovac Novak.
Called the Space Cowboy.
Cameron.
Chadir.
Chelly Squirrel.
Chris Q.
Christopher Lay.
Captain Alex.
Crimcat.
Christabal.
Sea Roper 17.
Dachshund.
Doinko.
Elite Peach.
Sparts 50.
Fart Priest 69.
Furbound.
Fernie and Just Forever.
Fox Deploy.
Garrett Hallfish.
Garth the Wolf.
Gartooth.
Heroic.
Iris Marin.
Jay Rando.
Jeffrey Hernandez.
Jerry 92602.
Jesse Hernandez.
Joe Encarnacion. Sorry.
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Collette.
Jordan Hemmerly.
Joshua Clements.
Juji Fruit.
Justin Levinger.
Kawa2796.
Keith Kwan.
Kevin Delane.
Kilo Kibo.
Christopia Party With Me.
Kyle Gamer Berry Rookie.
Kyle Kretzer.
Lazy Cat for Coffee.
Lex.
Lit.
Macho Potato.
Mad Dog 5981.
Magnificent Easy G and Callie Marie.
Marky Man 64.
Mario Man 392.
Mecha Dragon 101.
Medallion.
Megan.
Michael Cravens.
Mikey.
Mr. Ryan 07.
Motomania.
Mr. Andy Palm.
Mr. Beans and Dip.
MSM Poke Gamer.
My Tran.
Nasir.
Nathan Burkhart.
Naif E.
Ninja 11.
Panda Buns.
Hangy.
Palsy Pace.
Paul Gale Network.
Prime Factor.
Prince Charmless.
Reaver.
Raintech.
Record Rumble.
Rob Osborne.
Rocks.
Ryanetta.
Sakura Sky.
Sharif Jackson.
Sheer Cold Vanille.
Shinryu.
Schmiggles.
Slowbro.
Snazzle.
Spicy Munchkin.
Steel Citron.
Tales of Link.
Tay120N64.
Teal Fox 64.
The Keggers.
The Shark Among Men.
Thomas Alvarez.
Three Rivers.
Timmy V.
Topher Schmofer.
Torcheeks.
Totally Joe Ed.
Travis Torline.
Trajowie.
Tugs Puppy Bear.
Tuscoop.
Tyler Geis.
Video Game Stupid.
Vidgmictor.
Viridian.
VirtualBot.
Weeb Kingdom.
WG Grizzy.
What Up Khalil?
YU.
Wicked Davy.
Will Johnson.
Zelgoroth.
Zapatty.
And Zroid.
Well done.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Welcome.
And welcome.
First week.
Maybe change your name to Zroid too.
Zroid 2?
No, you can't.
No.
Okay, well, if you want us to butcher your name or if you want us to give you tons of exclusive content, join us on patreon.com/Kit and Krysta.
If you're watching on video, it's a dramatic pause. Ever heard of it?
No.
You can subscribe, you can give this video a thumbs up, and also leave us a comment. And if you are one of our great audio listeners, you can also subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and a written review if you please.
And we're on the socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Threads. Okay. That's it.
This is it.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.